What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Steve Nostantoski here of Mason Brew, bringing you another episode of Freshman Feature for the class of 2021. School stats, recruitment, projection, everything you guys need to know about the true freshmen coming into Michigan football this year. I didn't have a poll for this one. I'm sorry. I went ahead and bit the bullet. We got 4 guys left for this season. For this recruiting class, I should say, as part of this series of Freshman Feature 21. But previous episodes in the description below. You can find the playlist there if you missed any previous episodes. But let's dive into episode 19 here, covering 3-star linebacker Tyler McLaurin. All right, so he spent 2 seasons with Montini Catholic for his high school state runner-up finish as a sophomore back in 2018. Feels like 20 years ago. Transferred to Bolingbrook High School out of Illinois. They had an 8-4 record as a junior, quarterfinals in the Class 8A playoffs in 2019 as a junior there. Senior season delayed due to COVID. It was initially canceled, came back spring 2021. I couldn't find any stats on that, so I don't know how that season went, but you get the picture there. He competed in basketball and track and field, so another one of these guys who's a multi-sport athlete. All right, I'll throw up his stats on the screen here. All I could find was his junior year stats from 2019. He made 92 tackles, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 pick. For his metrics, he weighs in at 220 pounds at 6'2 or 6'3, depending on who you ask. Couldn't find anything on 40, shuttle, or vertical. He did have some testing lined up for camps in the summer of 2020, but obviously those got canceled, so this is where we're at, okay? Flying through here to his rankings, 3-star to all services. All rankings are pretty similar, middle-of-the-road 3-star to all of the services. Composite brings him in at exactly 500 nationally, 12 in the state of Illinois, and just outside of the top 50 linebacker in the class. So for his offer, he had a top list of Michigan State, Iowa State, Nebraska, and Texas Tech. He also had some offers from Kentucky, Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, Boston College, and Illinois. He visited Notre Dame and Wisconsin, did not receive an offer from those schools. So Michigan, you would argue, is one of the top tier offers that he did get. He does have an offer list of someone you would expect around the 500 range as a 3-star there. So for his recruitment, he was being recruited at a number of different positions, kind of as a hybrid guy. Notre Dame wanted him as their rover, so that's kind of their hybrid outside linebacker position. Some saw him as an inside linebacker, other outside linebacker. Others saw him as a Sam linebacker, right? So there's a lot of different areas that teams were recruiting him towards. He had some visits in 2019 to Purdue and Northwestern. Early 2020, he had a visit to Nebraska before things got shut down. Then he eventually committed to the Wolverines in May of 2020. The offer from the Wolverines was received earlier that year in January. So he had a really, really good relationship with Don Brown. Obviously, Don Brown no longer with the program, but he ignited his relationship with McDonald and the rest of the staff. So things apparently smoothed over there. Academics, one of the biggest factors in this recruitment for McLaurin, one of the big differentiators for Michigan in securing his commitment. All right, so for his scouting, you'll see aggressive come up quite a bit. Physical player, smart kid, pretty good length and long arms. So going with his 6'3" height, he also has long arms to extend his range. Good instincts and football IQ, again, going back to his smarts. He shoots gaps quickly, solid acceleration, changes directions well, and impressive in coverage. That's something that's pretty rare for linebackers out of high school, being impressive in coverage. Being comfortable in open space, but McLaurin does fit that bill. For his improvements, speed is mentioned as fine, but not elite. With his speed, I think it's plenty, but he's not going to be that inside linebacker like a Cam McGrone or a Devin Bush level speed, right? It's just not the same player there. And then another one, he needs to gain strength, okay? It's almost everyone coming into a collegiate program, but he will need to spend some time in the weight room, okay? And then there are just some questions about where he'll end up. You know, I mentioned where he was getting recruited at different positions, rush end, you know, that edge rush kind of player. 24/7 Sports don't think he'll play heavier than 225 to 235, but there's a lot of different ways you can deploy this kind of player with this skill set. So for his film, as always, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight, live stream to watch all things McLaurin. Went about an hour last time. Talked all things Michigan football beyond just the film of the player there. So tonight, come hang out. We'll analyze film and we'll talk about things as well. For his comp, this was a tough one. I had a really tough time here. I went back to Jake Ryan, okay? And stick with me for a bit. You know, I know that's a big name, but he was a 6'2", 6'3", 220-pound linebacker, out of Ohio. Middle of the road, 3-star, around 748 nationally ranked. Great frame, right? He was a guy, pretty good quickness overall. His acceleration was solid, versatile athlete. excellent pass rush, moves well enough in space to change direction and work outside of the box. Experience in coverage. He had the hips and feet to prosper there as well. High work ethic and good football IQ. So he's got a lot of the same things, right? A lot of those, especially in coverage. That's something that kind of popped out to me on their scouting reports. Linebackers that are good in coverage are kind of rare, and he had that bill out of high school as well, and he shot gaps really well. He's a really good blitzing linebacker, and I see that a lot with Tyler McLaurin as well. One thing that they dinged Jake Ryan on was average strength, right? He wasn't the strongest linebacker out there. He was kind of like a hybrid player back in a time where hybrid linebackers weren't really a thing. So I think that's kind of what we'll have with Tyler McLaurin, and in a different world, how you would deploy Jake Ryan as potentially a Sam linebacker or somewhere else kind of as a hybrid. Take advantage of his multifaceted skill set. So obviously, Jake Ryan turned into a 4th-round pick in the NFL draft. I think that's probably around the ceiling for McLaurin if everything works out right. You know, I think he has the potential to get there. Okay, so for his projection, he's almost a lock for a red shirt. The staff had mentioned to him, there's an interview where the staff had mentioned they're excited to get him in the weight room, see what he turns into, right? Because if you gain 30, 40 pounds, you definitely are looking at him as a potential edge rush guy. Utilize those skill sets. If he sticks around 225, 235, you could see him as more of a linebacker, kind of a Sam linebacker type. And it's just a matter of, how does the rest of the depth chart stand out? Where can he really differentiate himself? What will he turn into? Will he grow any, right? There's all these things where he could even grow into a weak side defensive end if he gains enough weight and adds a couple inches to his height. So for me, I think expect 2023, the year that we'd see from him. I just think he's got some work to do in the weight room, and with that length, I think he's a very interesting prospect, and you kind of want to see what you have after the weight room before deploying him and focusing him on one area. He's kind of just a defensive athlete, a linebacker-shaped body that could develop into something different. You just need to spend the time for him to get there. And I do think it would be Sam right now. If I'm projecting, I think he'd be a great Sam linebacker based on his skill set. But again, lots of work to do before we get to that point. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you like the comparison. What's a better comparison that you see? Check out the community tab actually, don't do that. No. So again, live stream tonight on the channel, 30 minutes or so of Tyler McLaurin's film. Any questions as well. And then finally, like and subscribe the video if you like this series. It really helps. We're approaching 4,000 subscribers. I don't know what I'm going to do for it yet, but that will be exciting. So thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Stay safe out there. As always, go blue.